Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Alpha 3.9 is the next major Star Citizen Persistent Universe patch, and it's right around the corner. Here is what you need to know. So when are we going to see the patch? The Alpha 3.9 patch is planned to be live by the end of March 2020, but because of the way CIG have been recently with patches and releases, I would actually expect them to start to want to release that Ivocati phase, so the early test phase, as early as possible, potentially as early as this weekend. Next week at the latest. After Ivocati, it will go to First Wave PTU for subscribers and concierge, and then wider PTU to active backers and bug reporters, and then open PTU to everyone after that has a game package, and then live for everyone. Long-term persistence should make it so that your Alpha UEC and purchases in-game now carry over to 3.9 and potentially 4.0 as well and beyond. Be aware though that they may have reasons to reset the databases still from time to time. We might not see our progress carried over to 3.9 for all we know. They may still do a full wipe, and long-term persistence may be buggy and not transfer your progress appropriately, so bear that in mind at the very least. There have been a lot of changes to the roadmap content for 3.9 over the last year or so, but we have seen the sort of like cut-off now, so hopefully no other features will get cut. It's possible, but it's much less likely. Food and drink and the player status system. So one of the premier features of 3.9 is the new player status system updates. So the player status system is being expanded to track thirst, hunger, temperature, and new buffs and debuffs. Previously, it had only tracked health, stamina, oxygen, limb damage, and bleeding, but it's sort of like anything that is affecting the player status is part of the player status system. Players will be able to see on their Mobiglass their status and what's affecting it. Food and drink have a nutrition and hydration value, with the higher number the better, basically. These and other consumables may also give you a buff and debuff associated with them, so you might be able to get more stamina for longer, or something that hydrates you for longer without losing hydration. Something could poison you or affect your vision. You might get a little bit of health regen from certain consumables. Various harvestables and narcotics will be consumable as well. It's expected that medbeds will be able to cure some of these undesired statuses though. Temperature will also cause you to have debuffs if you get too hot or too cold. You will also have a life expectancy readout when not wearing the appropriate gear. So when you're on the planet's surface, like Microtech, and you're in the nude, you're not going to have a great time, and you might only have a minute or so before you get too exposed, as it were, and freeze to death. So temperature is going to affect your vision and that sort of stuff as well. You'll need to be wearing the appropriate gear for the appropriate situation. So food and drink and consumables are expected to be purchasable at food courts and vending machines, and makeable in ships that have appropriate facilities, but you're also able to pick up some harvestables and just chow down on them as well. Prison gameplay. So prisons are again a major update to 3.9. Players that have criminal records with crimes that are not spent or paid off or removed may find themselves in prison. If you die or surrender in range of bounty hunters or security, and you meet the criminal requirements, you will spawn in Klesher Automated Prison on Aberdeen, a moon of Hurston. You're given an orange jumpsuit and a helmet, but you are locked out of your normal inventory until you have either paid off your merit debt or escaped prison and hacked your fugitive status down on one of these security posts around the verse, like security post Korea, using a crypto key. There is only one known escape route through the mines at the moment of Klesher, out of that prison, that CIG are aware of anyway. I suspect people will really hammer that to death, that sort of prison gameplay, and other people will, I'm sure, find interesting ways of escaping that were not intended. In prison, you will be given merits for just being logged on there every so often, like just a time tick. If you're logged off, you're not going to be given those merits, but once you reach a certain amount of limits, you can basically choose to leave prison. There is a terminal in the center of the prison that will have information on your merits and all the sort of like data that you've got on your criminal record and that sort of jazz. When you have enough, you'll be able to request release, and then you will respawn in the last major area you visited, or most appropriate area to respawn you in. The other way to gain merits is to mine. Klesher will furnish you with a mining tool, and you will be able to go down into those mines underneath the facility, and once you collect some ore, you'll be able to deposit that, and you'll be given merits based on what you deposit. You can also use merits to purchase the now important food and drink and oxy pens and med pens from vending machines. Oxygen is very valuable as the atmosphere is not breathable on Aberdeen. This hampers escape attempts as well, though there are refuel terminals for oxygen at certain areas around the prison and mines. The prison is automated, so no NPC guards. There are automated anti-personnel turrets around prison though, and the exterior has defences too that will fire on trespassers and escapees alike, but also players that violate the rules in prison as well will be dealt with. You could even see more merits added to your debt if you are doing naughty things. There are little stashes hidden around the prison and mines that might have useful items in, food or drink or meds, or even shanks and shivs if you are that way inclined. There is a boxing ring there as well for players to blow off some steam. Eventually this will be able to be another way of gaining merits, it's suspected. There is also a vehicle garage where an Urza rover spawns to aid in escape attempts, apparently on the surface, and there are supposed to be prison missions that could take the form of resupplying a prison, hunting fugitives, smuggling something out of prison, and missions for inmates to take out other problem inmates that are breaking the rules. You'll also be able to surrender to security by coming to a halt and powering down your ship when ordered to, and then security will sort of halt their attack and arrest any criminal players aboard a ship, impounding the ship if owned by a criminal. This could also see players aboard that ship be imprisoned for harbouring a criminal or working with the criminal, that sort of stuff. I'm interested to see how that's actually worked out. There's a load of updates to Microtech as well. So New Babbage, that's the actual city there. That's got its interiors. It's going to be a major social and economic trading hub. It's going to have the Microtech flagship store. We're not sure how traversable it's going to be. It's suspected that it's going to have a spaceport and then a tram system in a similar way to Hurston's. And that will link to the sort of main sort of shopping area, shopping district there, but there's expected to be more areas opening up in the future as well. You'll have mission givers and that sort of jazz in the future as well. There's an interactive hologram there that can give you various info on the city and shops, and there's also those shops that have both new and old weapons, equipment and gear in. As part of that, there's new clothing and armors, and I believe that all clothing and armor will have different thermal ratings now, protecting you from the elements, or at least telling you how much they protect you. But there's also new items and new armors with that focus in mind, like cold and hot suits to protect you there. The planet and its moons, Microtech, will be hooked up to missions that make use of this new gameplay, though not 100% tied to Microtech. Weather's obviously a major thing. There are going to be storms and conditions that affect your character, sort of like locomotion, so wind slowing you down, you'll be covering your face with your hand in certain situations, and this is all part of the player status system as well, so being too hot or cold will affect you and eventually kill you. Wearing protective gear will help mitigate this, but this could change the sort of conditions. There might suddenly be a storm which gives you a cold snap and slows you down. There are 3 moons of Microtech that are being added here as well: Clio, Calliope, and Euterpe. I believe that's actually the correct pronunciation. They are all named after Greek muses. These are built entirely with the new V4 planetary tech, and you've got one of those moons having a ocean, one with a frozen ocean, and one with no ocean. They all should look rather pretty and have some unique biome placements. For ships, there are improvements to the M50, bringing it up to standard, as well as the long-awaited Prowler being added, the first Havaran ship in-game. It's a stealthy dropship focused on getting its troops delivered safely via EVA or on the ground. It's got sort of little shields that come up that allow you to pass through them, but also keep the internals pressurized. There is the expectation of something else vehicle or shipwise here as well that isn't on the roadmap. There was an Origin Jumpworks teaser of something recently as well, suggesting that there might be an Origin Jumpworks vehicle or ship that might have some form of exploration or mapping sort of thing on the mind, or surveying. There are also some extremely important AI updates with 3D navigation, collision avoidance, and pathfinding, planet side. All of this stuff is so important to having a game that has AI in it. The former allows AI to avoid each other as well as collisions with the environment. This system also considers where things are going to be in the future, so they can sort of work out where to move out of the way of each other, and works out target velocity and their size, and basically they steer to get to where they want to go without bumping into things. The latter also allows AI to control ships to navigate an atmosphere using information from physics and planetary tech to obtain an obstacle-free path as possible. These together are the base for the AI to navigate planets, points of interest, and move around the verse appropriately, and even fight in large battles. Also, the AI is supposed to be tied to this player status system in some way, allowing them to understand where is dangerous and cold, and in the future, I believe, where and when to eat and drink, but to what extent this is going to be in 3.9 is not clear yet. Interaction system improvements. So with this, we're going to see feedback for when items can't be used. They're going to be adjusting UI elements to be correctly placed around geometry, and you're going to be able to have the ability to more easily bind keys to common actions. You're also going to see Hud and Ui updates with further integration of the new building blocks UI systems, making things like elevators, buttons, and interactions be more tactile and less inner thought based. So less text on the screen, more sort of like, I pressed a button. CIG are working on a quick action wheel as well to allow you to change weapons and take off your helmet quickly to allow you to eat and drink more easily. That should fall in 3.9 as well. There is a restricted area rework allowing the air traffic control systems to open up paths for players, sort of like telling them where to go with more guidance to landing pads, and then these areas should become more natural and won't be as obtrusive, so that you won't see like these weird orange force fields around places. You should be able to move around much more freely, and this should really make cities feel more tangible and come to life when you're flying near them. There's going to be general mission improvements, but there's a focus on bounty missions and PvP bounties. NPCs may be trying to escape you bounty hunting them now, and might try and fly away and go into quantum to evade, and you might have to follow them. You'll also be able to hunt other players with bounties on their heads as well. I think that's going to be an addition where you can actually set bounties, or maybe some more missions with players hunting each other. It's obviously expanding to the current gameplay that there is. There is a big swath of content that is planned for 3.9 that's not actually on the roadmap as well. So there's a prison transport mission, The Price of Freedom, from Twitch Pacheco. This tasks players to assault a disabled Caterpillar transport ship, taking out the escorts and then boarding the ship, taking out the guards, then using data pads to work out what prisoner pods to open, because you're rescuing prisoners, and then there's like an optional bit to take out one of the snitches that was in one of the pods as well. There is the Idris Mission. So this is pretty big and pretty exciting, with a fully fledged NPC Idris to fight against. It's actually part of the Arlington Gang bounty mission, so that's currently in game, but the final one of those missions is supposed to have an Idris, and that's going to be in 3.9. That Idris, they did confirm that. We don't know if we're going to be able to board that Idris. Maybe we will be able to steal it, though CIG can certainly lock out chairs, like they did with the 890 jump mission, and whenever they want. So it'll be interesting to see, even if they've tried to lock out the interior, if there's still interior there, I suspect people will glitch onto it. So it's going to be an interesting thing. I suspect that's going to be a really major sort of like hot topic and video sort of topic for 3.9, and something I want to look at a lot, that Idris. There's volatile cargo, which is also planned. This will have cargo types that may be dangerous, time dependent, or perishable. So if you don't get it to its destination in time, it might be worthless. Or if you take too much damage, boom! You get the idea. CIG elaborated a little bit, saying this cargo will need to be taken to a refining kiosk quickly and carefully to prevent it from detonating inside your ship. There's other various aspects to the game that are expected to. Ship and ship spawning. We know in January they implemented vehicle-to-vehicle loadout spawning, which enables players to store and spawn vehicles within the cargo bays of other vehicles. So my assumption is that will actually be in our hands, not just in the dev branch for 3.9, allowing you to, have your Carrack and have the vehicles inside the Carrack, the Pisces, and the Urza rover without you having to faff around. Balance and economy tweaks are just sort of like with the addition of new baggage. That's going to affect trade. That's going to affect the economy because it's a new place to buy and sell. There were various new narcotics and commodities that CIG have been working on as well, which I would expect to see in 3.9, including Quantanium for quantum fuel, new narcotics that you can also sell but also consume that give you buffs or debuffs. We know that CIG have been working on mining consumables as well that can be added to some of the mining lasers in game, and then they are one-use items that will quickly aid with your mining, preventing explosions, giving you a power boost, or making rocks otherwise easier to mine. Talking of rocks, it's supposed to be a feature of 3.9 that minables are in veins, and that those veins will run dry, so that this will have players moving around the Stanton system looking for mineable areas that will change over time. And you'll go, well, I've been getting a load of diamond here, all the diamond is running dry there. I'm interested to know if this is going to be communicated to a God server that goes, this is happening on all the servers, or if it's just going to be, well, this is on this server until this server resets, and then it resets where those minables are. And are the minables always in the same place until they run dry, and then it follows a procedure? I'm interested to know how that system works. Server-side object container streaming is still being dialed in as well, so expect some server-side and network code updates for 3.9. I'm hoping that this will address the desync issues that we've had. We know that CIG have at least played around with increasing server limits as well, though. We could see further testing of this in 3.9. That remains to be seen, though. From data mines, we know there's going to be, or at least it looks like there's going to be, the separation of backpacks from armor. So backpacks will be their own items that you can attach on some armors. Some other missions that were data mined include assassination and bounty hunts that require you to work together with another player, taking out 2 targets in 2 different locations simultaneously. Missions that are chained delivery missions, so you get a reward for doing sort of like 3 deliveries in a row, and then a bonus reward for doing all of them. We know that Theatres of War should go into testing at some point as well, though I suspect this to be sort of separate from 3.9 or 4.0 as a patch personally. That'll be sort of like tested separately because it can be released separately almost. And that's kind of it. I'm pretty excited for the patch, but then I always am with any major release. I'm in 2 minds whether I should be grinding in Star Citizen now in 3.8.2 for 3.9. That said, I would actually be expecting to be Evocati testing pretty soon, so that will probably eat up a lot of my time, and that will be pretty academic. There are possibly more additions and bits and features that might make it into 3.9, especially missions, commodities, and that sort of stuff. It's unlikely but possible that features could still slip from 3.9. I would expect it to be pretty locked in by now, but just bear that in mind that some stuff could still slip. But that is, as far as I'm aware, what's in 3.9. I'm interested to know what you think of 3.9 as it stands, as I've discussed it there. Are you excited? Are you disappointed? Does the potential of your progress carrying over make the game more playable for you? Or is there not enough gameplay loops yet? Is prison gameplay something that you think is good, or do you think it's going to be both good and fun, but also be able to prevent players in the future from committing crimes in the open? And that said, I suspect in the short term, people will want to just experience prison gameplay. Is there anything I've missed? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I'll also link the FAQ for people wanting to get into the PTU, but when you get access, so you can copy over your account and all that sort of jazz. Every month we have a ship giveaway for Star Citizen. This month we are giving away an Anvil Arrow Light Fighter and game package with that, so you can have access to Star Citizen if you don't already. All you got to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during the month of March. There are full details in the description below. I am a shill for a couple of companies, NordVPN and NordPass. If you are looking for a VPN or a password management system, I recommend you check them out. They've got many benefits over free services, and as I'm pretty security conscious, I love those kind of services. Also, there's Shadow. If you are thinking about getting a new gaming rig or upgrading your gaming PC for Star Citizen or whatever, then consider Shadow instead. It is a internet cloud-based subscription service like Stadia, like GeForce Now, but this one gives you access to a full Windows 10 environment which is fully customizable, and that is significantly better in my opinion, allowing you to do a lot more with it. Check out the links below for them, or use the code BoredGamer for discount. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, there is Patreon, there's the YouTube join member button down below. That really helps. This is a community supported channel, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without the support that I get. If you want to share these videos, if you want to comment, give feedback, whatever, that is also hugely appreciated. Thanks very much for watching, guys. You take care, and I'll see you in the verse.